Yeah, so if you don't have top drilled brûlés, another option is center drilled teardrops. So these are more common, easier to find for sure. So let's make like a little daisy. So I have, these are, I believe they are 9, either 8 by 6 millimeter or 9 by 6 millimeter. And they're clear. I like to make these with a jump ring. I'm working with really small jump rings. You don't have to work with jump rings this small. This is just all I had on hand. I think these are like 5.5 or 6 millimeter. So pretty tiny. This one has been flattened. So if you don't have a hammer and anvil block, what you can do is if you have flat nose pliers, or you could take your chain nose pliers. And my pliers are pretty smooth on the inside and the jaws stay the same pretty much all the way down. So what I do is if I don't feel like hammering or if it's late at night, I don't want to make a lot of noise, I'll just put it pretty deep into my pliers and then I'll just squeeze it really hard. And copper's soft enough to where, I don't know if you can see that, but it's already flattened. Copper's pretty soft, so I just do this and I'll rotate it around. Boop. So rotate and you can see it's kind of flattened on that side. So hammering or flattening is going to warp your metal a little bit. So I just rotate and rotate and rotate and squeeze. And now that the shape is flattened, it has also changed shape. That happens all the time. So this part's a little tricky. But this happens when you hammer metal as well. It's just part of wire wrapping life, I guess. It's part of the welcome to the club. So what I like to do is I'll try and, these can get kind of slippery. So if you try and squeeze them, sometimes it's like, it'll slip like that. So I try and grip it well if I can. Or you can use chain nose pliers if you have some. And hold it like that. Let me see if I have. You could try holding like this if you have 2 pliers. This is another pair of chain nose. Cool, that looks pretty good. Okay, so we have a flattened jump ring now, and it's okay if it looks a little marked up or marred from your pliers because this isn't going to be visible. So we are going to need 26 gauge wire again, maybe 12 inches, something like that. Should be good. 15 inches if you want to play it safe. You'll probably have a lot of extra, but so I begin by doing a beginning wrap, a beginning coil. So you're just going to take a little bit of length and make a fold like that. I usually will put my fingers over the entire thing and just kind of pull the wire flat like that so that it has made a nice fold. And then I will take this shorter end and pull it through, loop it through like that. Let's see if I can push that through. So I'll usually wrap about 3 times and I will consider that secure enough. Just be careful because when the wire is this short, you can definitely stab yourself. I have done this many times. So I usually try and tuck the end just to avoid stabbing myself. Okay, and now it feels pretty secure. We're gonna add the very first. So there are a few different, actually just a couple of different directions you can thread these. So if you want, you can do the flower with petals like this. So it'll look like this if you want, with the pointy side outwards. Or if you like the more traditional, the fat side of the teardrops facing outwards, you can thread them like that. I'm going to do it the more traditional way. Whoops, wrong end. So we're just going to thread this with the teardrop facing down. And you want to just put the bead right up against the jump ring, and then you're going to hold the bead and pull downwards. And you're not going to crank against the jump ring. you're just going to make an angle, make a bend by holding the teardrop and bending the wire. And then that way it'll stay kind of straight. Because if you pull really tight, your teardrop will go wah. So, and then you're going to, I like to push the wire through the opening like that. And then once I get a little bit through there, I can pull this through. And then you're gonna wrap. So when I wrap, I try and secure the teardrop straight, perpendicular against the ring, so that when I am wrapping it, I don't end up pulling this wire so tight that it makes my teardrop overly crooked. If it's a little tilted, that's okay, because you're gonna have 5 of them, so it'll still look pretty. So I'm gonna try and push this through again, if I can. There we go. Once you get a little bit through, you can just kind of thread it. The reason why I do the push through method is because it maintains the wire tension on the previous wrap there. So that's just how I like to do it. I'm going to thread the next teardrop. So I like to add this jump ring because it gives me kind of like something to hold on to, and it just feels like there's more structure on the flower. So we're going to hold the teardrop and then pull the wire straight down like that. And then we're going to kind of make a bend first and then try and force the wire through the hole there. Usually we'll stop going after you get about 1/2 centimeter through. So after that, I'll just take my pliers, pull that through, and then I will try and hold the teardrop in place so that when I wrap, it doesn't overly tilt the teardrop. And then I'll do the same thing. I'll start with a bend, and then I'll try and force that bend through the hole. And then once I get a little bit through, I will pull this through. So I usually do 1 wrap and then I'll do 1 more just to make sure it's nice and secure. So we're gonna push that through again. Oh, so actually this came out a little bit more this time. I can use my fingers. Okay, and then we're gonna do the next one. So I'm gonna hold the teardrop against the jump ring, and I'm gonna brace the teardrop, pull the wire straight down, and then I'm going to make a bend here like that, and then force that bend through and just pull on that little segment there. And then wrap that around the jump ring. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to make a bend and then force the bend through the hole until it pokes out just a teeny tiny bit. Just enough for us to grab. I'm going to do 1 more wrap. Get in there. There we go. Okay. So this method is probably a little more time consuming, but I kind of like doing it this way. If you guys have your own method of making flowers, I'd love to know what your guys' little secret is. Okay, so we're gonna do that same thing. We're gonna brace the teardrop, pull the wire down, make a bend, and then force that bend through the jump ring. Okay, and then we're gonna adjust, make sure this teardrop isn't pull too tight. And then you're going to thread that through. As long as it pokes out just a tiny bit, that's enough to grab. All right, now we're going to do last one. And it's coming together. Sometimes you might need to scoot these around or make them closer to another side, but we can do that afterwards. Okay, so we're gonna hold that teardrop, make sure it's up flush against that jump ring. Let's see, actually you might be able to just thread the wire through this way if you keep your hand pressed on the wire. So when you pull it through, your wire is gonna wanna twist like that. Just make sure you don't let it twist. Okay, so just hold it there so you don't crank on it too much. And then we're going to thread the wire through. I'll usually, when I feed the wire into the jump ring with the tip like this, I'll try and keep my finger inside the loop because a lot of times it will twist and kink up or things like that. So I kind of try and keep a gap, give the loop some space so that it doesn't do that by keeping my finger there. All right, so here we have our flower. Cute, huh? So, and you can add something in the middle. This is a 6mm little bead. So it kind of really nicely hides that jump ring. And then I will usually go around to the back side. It doesn't really have a back side. Actually, if you like the way the style looks with the wires visible, you can put this yellow thing and make this the front side. Otherwise, if you don't really want those visible and you want to flip the flower around so that the flower is not displaying any of the wires. Sorry, I'm just tweaking my flower now. You can just wrap that wire straight across the jump ring so that you come around to the other side and thread this, thread this onto the other side so that your teardrops don't have any wires on the back. I think both are cute. I often like when these are showing because it looks cool, especially when they're all going in the same direction. It has a neat look to it, but if you don't like that, here's another option. So to secure this yellow bead in place, I will just feed this through the jump ring again, and I'll try and make sure that I'm pulling the wire and it's coming out in between the same two teardrops. Like you don't want to go this way, you want to make sure that it's coming out in the same spot that you inserted it. And you might need to kind of wiggle this to get it really taut. And there you have it. Cute little daisy. And now you have a spare wire, the spare length here that you can wrap onto your Suncatcher frame or turn this into a loop so that you can turn it into earrings or a pendant or something. If you did want to do that, here I can show you right now. You could, if you have nice pointy round nose pliers, you could make a loop. Actually, if you want, just change the direction of the wire so that it's pointing to the back of the flower, just to make it easier to work with. Because if you're trying to work in between these petals in this small space, it's like impossible. So you're going to make a right angle and then do a half turn like that. I don't know if you can see that. It's like a question mark. And then we're going to try and close off this wire like that. And then you're going to grip this and just wrap around the stem before your loop. And you can overlap a few times, like I'd probably go down and then I'd go back up and then maybe go back down just to make it more sturdy or substantial. And then, now that you have a wrapped loop, it should look like that. You can turn it back upwards in between those two petals. So I would feed this wire back into the jump ring. And then if you notice, the wire kind of wants to kink up like this. So I'll usually just open up this space so it's got room to pull through. Try and pull it tight. I'm just gonna move my flower petals real quick. We're gonna close this off at the bottom of that coil. So I'm gonna snip that right there. And then just tuck that in. All right. And then and you might rearrange the petals so they're nice and cute again. And then if you need to arrange this too. And there you go. Now you can put it on a necklace or something. Ta-da! Okay, moving on. Oh yes, also, if you have, there are a few different things you can do with these center drilled teardrops. You can alternate and do like I made this kind of to look like a lotus or something. You could put this on your Suncatcher. If you pretend my finger is a Suncatcher frame. You could do 3 teardrops with the fat part facing the jump ring. Fun stuff like that. You could even alternate with regular beads. I made this to look like something called a walking iris flower. So it has some clear petals and then it has these violet small petals in between with some brown in the center. So you can do all kinds of fun stuff.